Imagine for a second taking every dollar you spend on ads and lighting half of it on fire, because that's what most brands are doing right now. They spend thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on ads to drive people to their website, yet if those people don't buy immediately, they never see them again. That means people who are one step away from purchasing never come back to the store ever again. But what if they had a system in place that took those people who weren't ready to purchase yet and slowly turned them into a customer? Well, that's exactly what email marketing is for. And in this video, I want to run through the 3 psychological principles behind why it works so damn well. Because I've generated $175 million through email revenue alone, and most of the brands I audit treat it like an afterthought. But by the end of this video, you'll see why it's one of the most powerful channels to use in 2026. The very first reason why email is simply so powerful, it's intimate. Just think about every other marketing channel out there. When you run meta ads, your message shows up in a feed someone is passively scrolling through, which means your brand is just noise to them. It's competing with everything else on that feed for half a second of attention. YouTube, people are actively waiting just to click the skip button. But email is different. Email is where your boss messages you the most, where your bank sends your statements, and where your mom forwards you that article she thought you'd like. It's where the stuff that actually matters to you lives. So when a brand lands in that inbox, if they do it right, your brain doesn't process it in the same way it processes an ad on Facebook or Meta or Instagram or Google or YouTube. It sees it like a one-on-one conversation. And this has nothing to do with open rates or out-of-the-box subject lines. It's just the nature of email marketing. Because email, as a medium, carries weight that no other channel can even match. Even with all this AI stuff going on, email is still unmatched, which means it gives you an advantage no matter how much time you actually put into it. Just take the brand We're Not Really Strangers, for example. Their emails are beyond basic, yet they still bring in millions of dollars in revenue from them, simply because they take advantage of the intimacy the channel offers by keeping their campaigns feeling personal and conversational. But what makes them even more powerful is how they got there in the first place. See, there are 2 main types of marketing: interruption-based and permission-based. Interruption-based is everything you pay to basically force in front of people. Stuff like meta ads, Google ads, sponsored posts, things that you're shoving in front of everyone. You're essentially paying for the right to interrupt someone's day, and majority of times it works. So the reason those work at all is because when you target them well enough, that interruption is at least somewhat relevant to the people who see it. But there's also a downside to it, because the brain's default setting when it's interrupted is resistance. It's automatically thinking, who is this and why are they talking to me? That's the psychological starting point you're working against every single time a customer runs into your ad. On the other hand, now you have permission-based marketing, which is completely different. So much easier, simply because, well, they opted into your business. They came onto your site, they saw what they liked, and they said, yes, I want to hear more from you. Let me go ahead and sign up. That single act, clicking subscribe, completely rewires the dynamic. It's the difference between someone randomly talking about their business and a customer actually asking them about it. So I have a very simple question for you. In which case are you most likely to listen? Probably the second case. That's the whole point of permission-based marketing. And that's why, while paid ads convert at around 2 to 3%, email averages 3 to 5% and often upwards of 12%. All because instead of interrupting someone with your product or brand, you're letting them come to you first. That way, by the time they're reading your message, they're already a warmer buyer than anyone you're paying to reach to. Now, does this mean you're not going to run meta ads? Absolutely not. It only works when both are working in place. You shouldn't have one without the other. So email is intimate, and the subscriber gives you permission to market to them. But there's one more part that no one really talks about. See, on every other channel, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, an algorithm decides whether your customer sees you or they don't. You could post the best piece of content in the world you've ever made and have it reach maybe 2% of your audience simply because you didn't appeal to the algorithm. And at the end of the day, you're not in control. But the same can't be said for email, because email ultimately gives everyone a fair fighting chance, because it's one of the only channels that lets you decide exactly when and how often you show up, which ultimately matters because of something called the mere exposure effect. It's one of the most well-documented principles in psychology, where the basic idea is that the more someone is exposed to something in a non-threatening context, the more they trust and prefer it. That's it. You don't need persuasive or amazing messaging for this to apply. Just by showing up consistently enough, people will like and trust you more over time. Think of it like a song you hear on the radio. The first time, you don't really think about it. Then you hear it 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times, and you start singing along with it. By the 20th time, it's your new favorite song and you know it word for word. Did the song get any better? Nope, it's the same thing. You just kept being exposed to it. And email is the only marketing channel where you can engineer that exposure, simply because you're the one who decides how many emails you send every week. So if you have 100,000 people on your email list, you could send 60 emails in a month, giving you 6 million touch points. Or you can send 5 emails a month and make a fraction of that. And this is a principle that's understood by some of the biggest brands out there. Just take a look at Grunz, for example. They just exited for $1.2 billion. They're sending out multiple emails per day while doing well over $500 million in revenue per year. And if we take the average email marketing attribution, which is anywhere from 25 to 50%, a lot of revenue is from email. But notice how they're not afraid to send, because they know the more you're in front of your subscribers, the more you're able to sell. And they could really care less if someone unsubscribes because, well, they're already acquiring so many people that the net is always in a positive or a surplus. And that's exactly why email works. Not just because of fancy subject lines or automations, but because of 3 psychological principles that are baked into the channel itself. But just sending out emails for the sake of them isn't going to give you the same results as Grunz or Lemmy or AG1 or all these major brands, because you still need to know how to make your own emails stand out amongst everyone else in a way that actually converts customers. So if you want to see exactly how I used email to make this brand over $1.3 million in just under 30 days, and how you can effectively do the same for your brand, watch this video next, and I'll see you there.